Happy Friday, Titans fans. Welcome into Titans Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Jace Andrews. And as you can see, we've got a very full show. Lots of press conferences throughout the week, and I kind of want to recap them because there's some spicy quotes that I think we should talk about. First one being about Calvin Ridley. Got some interesting news on that. Kenneth Murray, is he going to have a big role? Well, Dennard Wilson thinks so. And the new starter on offensive line, plus Mason Rudolph having a key role as QB2. We'll hit all of this and more here on Titans Today, but as per usual, we're putting out Titans content every single day. So hit the subscribe button if you're in the mood for that. We got informative, entertaining, and fun content, I like to think. We like to talk about the Titans pretty much every single day of the week, so if you want to be informed on all things going on in the Titans Stadium in Nashville, well then guess what? We got you covered right here on Titans Today. Let's start first with Calvin Ridley, who is one of the newer Titans, as he was the premier signing of the NFL free agency, at least for the Tennessee Titans. I think he was probably top 5 in terms of premier signings in all of the NFL. And what's funny is there was talk of him going to a couple different teams. And funny enough, he actually had some options after all. So if you remember, there were 3 teams that were interested in him. And to be quite frank, the Titans were very, very much lowest in the totem pole. The Jaguars were the favorite to get him. They had him last year. They were the favorite to return him this year. The Patriots were right behind them, and the Titans were just kind of floating around. They needed a wide receiver, but it wasn't like something that they were linking the two together. Funny enough, though, we got some news today, you could say. And, well, it's a little bit surprising to see that Calvin Ridley actually wanted to be a Tennessee Titan. Don't know what I mean? Well, let's look at Mike Moraitis of Titans Wire, who has the report for us on Ridley signing with the Titans, saying, quote, Ridley was fully expected to re-sign with the Jaguars before the Titans pivoted back to the wideout after being unsuccessful in other ventures, according to Jordan Schultz. But it was general manager Ran Carthon who sealed the deal. He got on the phone with Ridley and told him, quote, you're going to love the way we treat you inside this building, end quote, while also letting their mutual Florida connection. Halfway through the call, Ridley was sold and told Carthon he would sign in Tennessee. By the way, Schultz adds that the Jags were offering dollar for dollar what the Titans were offering, yet Ridley still chose Nashville, end quote. Holy cow. So you're telling me he had the same offer to go back to a team that had just had a 1,000-yard season with, and he said, no, I like Ran Carthon. I like what he has done. It's somewhat of a recruitment vibe. And I saw some recent reports. Supposedly, Ran Carthon has created a college football-like atmosphere where he is recruiting these athletes. He is getting them on the phone and telling them exactly why they should come to Nashville and play with him and Brian Callahan. And I got to say, considering the offseason he's had, I'd say it's an Alabama-level recruitment ranking. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And Calvin Ridley is the top of that list. So let's predict this stat line for 2024. I'm excited to see what he will do. You've got a lot of amazing pieces around him. DeAndre Hopkins, Will Levis, Tony Pollard, and a good offense that hopefully will have a fully revamped offensive line. So get in the comment section and predict Ridley's stat line for 2024. To give you a little bit of insight, here is what his stat line has looked like over the past 4 seasons. Obviously, had 2022 where he did not play as he was suspended. Had the stepping away from football in 2021 where he only played in 5 games, recording just 281 yards. But prior to that, a 1,000-yard receiver with the Atlanta Falcons, and then coming back, literally not playing football at all, and had over 1,000 yards this year in Jacksonville with a 13.4 average and 8 touchdowns. Seemed like he was back to almost his normal self in the full 17-game season. I just can't wait. I'm excited to see him in Tennessee. I'm excited to see him in a Titans uniform. I'm excited to see what he brings to this team because obviously we can sit here. We can talk about everything that Ran Carthon has done. We can talk about all the amazing things that he has gotten with this Titans team in 2024. But nothing's going to beat actually seeing it in action and seeing if this works. And hopefully, just hopefully, maybe get them to the playoffs as well. Another one of those additions, Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from the Los Angeles Chargers, signed a 2-year deal with the Tennessee Titans for $15.5 million. And, well, he was an interesting addition. I think that's the way, because we all know that he was probably going to be a starter on this linebacker room, especially with the loss of Azeez Al-Shaair. But you have Arden Key. Harold Landry had a great year last year. They re-signed Jack Gibbons along with it. And how does he exactly fit into this? Well, Dennard Wilson, who had a press conference earlier this week, mentioned how he sees Kenneth Murray fitting into this defense, saying, quote, "We're not focused on the green dot right now. I think that's up to guys getting out there and performing and seeing how much information they can retain first and foremost. The thing with Kenneth is, just like when he came out of college, you saw the explosiveness. He's a big man. He's athletic. He's smart. He can make all the plays. For us, our thought process is to put him in a position to allow him to play free, to cut it loose so that he doesn't have to think as much right now. And as we start to let him go out there and cut it loose, and he plays fast and physical and ahead of plays, then you can give him other responsibilities. But right now, it's about him being the best version of himself, the good self, and trying to maximize his potential so when he goes out and plays, he plays free," end quote. He's got a big spot to fill. I'm going to be quite frank with you. Azeez Al-Shaair put together a fantastic season in 2023 with the Tennessee Titans. As he heads to Houston to play with the Texans in an AFC South rival, you get Kenneth Murray, you get Dennard Wilson, you get a new coaching staff, and everything that's changing here. It's a lot to kind of figure out. However, the excitement is there. Not just with Ran Carthon, not just with Brian Callahan, the head coach, but with Dennard Wilson, who's the defensive coordinator, in his first time being in that role. He's been a defensive backs coach for his entire career, but yet he had a chance to become the DC of the Ravens, you know, the team that went to the AFC Championship. He chose to go to Tennessee instead. Ran Carthon's building a pretty good thing, and man, it's a big spot to fill for Kenneth Murray, but I'm expecting him to be really, really nice. Do you have a big spot to fill in your closet for a Calvin Ridley jersey? Guess what? We got you covered. You can go check it out. Obviously, the gear is in. You can finally get your Ridley gear and be ready for 2024. If you go to chatsports.com/Ridley, you're going to be able to check out the jerseys, the shirts, the women's jerseys. We got everything on lock for you, and we're going to have that link in the comments in the description, so that way, when Calvin Ridley in week 1 scores a 75-yard touchdown from Will Levis, you're going to have the jersey on, and you're going to be hype as much as me. Chatsports.com/Ridley. You can go check it out. We'll put that link in the comments and the description of this video. Again, this free agency season for Ran Carthon was something unprecedented. Now, you look at this and you think, okay, Ridley's a starter. Mason Rudolph's the backup. Julius Chestnut was a re-signing. Sid Charles, was he a backup? Was he a starter? We kind of got the notion that he was a backup. Honestly, the assumption around Sid Charles was that he was going to be more of a depth piece on this offensive line. However, Nick Foles, the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, gave us a little bit of an insight to Sid and maybe how he could become a starter in the NFL. He said this at his press conference earlier this week, quote, "He's really a power player. You looked at him in Washington, and when he came off the ball, you could really see that. For us, he's attractive because if we can get that level of play consistently, he's a starting guard in the NFL. To get him how we got him and get him as quickly as we did, we're really excited," end quote. This offensive line is looking pretty good. And the thing that he noted here, Sid Charles, he's obviously a guard, but could he potentially take over on the right side for Daniel Brunskill? Because I can tell you right now, Peter Skoronski will probably not move given what they put him through this past year and having him be in that left guard position all year. I don't think they want to make him learn right guard now, although that's not much different. It's still some changing. I think we may see him in a bigger role than we thought. I know that that's kind of crazy to think. And Sadiq, I may have underestimated his game. Man, I looked at some of his highlights. He's a bigger guy. He does get off the ball really quickly. However, I don't know if he's a starter just yet. I think Nicole set up the best. If he can play to the ability of what they see him as, 100%, he can jump up to a starter level. However, I don't think he's there just yet. But that is nothing to say that he can't get to there and hopefully help out a Titans offensive line that was maybe one of the worst offensive lines we've seen in a long time. But you've got a lot of positives. You signed Logan Cushenberry. You're hopefully going to get Joe Alt in the draft. You got a new offensive line coach, the son, or rather father of Brian Callahan, Bill Callahan, who produced some pretty awesome offensive lines with the Cleveland Browns. So now, what can we do with everybody they got? So, will the Titans make the playoffs in 2024? I think that's the question that we all are asking right now, and I think let's kind of put a poll out there. Y for yes, N for no. Obviously, they got a bunch of additions. Do they make the playoffs with it? Y for yes if you think they will, N for no if you think they're not there just yet. All right, the last topic here on the show, Mason Rudolph. And I said chip on the shoulder here on the top. Why? Well, I'll tell you that in just a minute. He's the backup, and I got to be quite frank, I think he's one of the better backups to have on your roster in all the NFL. Has starter level experience, and last year, as a third stringer, led the the Steelers to the playoffs. So why does he have the chip on his shoulder? Well, I think he's been undervalued. Ramon Foster, a former teammate of Rudolph, said this, quote, "He's enjoying himself. We talked about some very specific stuff, about how he felt. I think it was good that he got to do something outside of the city. I think he needed it. Their offensive coordinator spoke today, and the Titans have some high praise about Mason. He said, quote, he was a guy we evaluated, and looking at his tape, his command at the line of scrimmage, how he checked and how he audibled, and his decisiveness in his play, we think his best ball is ahead of him," end quote. Then they said they think very highly of the kid. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder, end quote. Man, this quarterback room is actually pretty spicy if you look at it. Will Levis is a guy that I really trust could be a franchise quarterback. I don't know if we're 100% of them yet, but I would say I'm probably at 95, 99. Mason Rudolph, I think, is a really, really solid QB2. Should Levis go down, knock on wood, he does not. And then Malik Willis, as much as we crap on him, I think that he's honestly pretty decent as a QB3. He's got the athletic ability. Has he done well on the field? No, probably not. But are you expecting a QB3 to be on the field much? No, probably not. I think this room is really, really underrated. I think you are looking at people in the NFL, and they're not giving the credit where credit is due here in Tennessee and in Nashville, because overall, Ran Carthon has done an amazing job at not only filling out their starters, all 22 guys, offense, defense, but he's also done well at getting the depth filled out. And, well, that's just as important in some ways, especially with football, which is a very physical sport, and injuries can happen just like that. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on Titans today. I know you have to allocate some time to us, and I want to make sure that I really, really thank you for that. So if you are not already subscribed, I'll hit that subscribe button because we're putting more videos out like this every single day. But that's all we got for you, Titans fans. We will see you next time. For now, tighten up and peace out.